This video is sort of a review of the Insta360 Go 2, but it's more of a look at who might use it and what they might use it for. Sit tight, there's some travel example footage here for you to have a look at, and then I'll go through my thoughts on the camera. It's the final day in Belfast. I'm up, I'm out, I'm walking. Just, to get my steps in. It's actually part of an idea I've had to talk about in a different video probably, because this video, as much as it's been about coming to Belfast, it's been about this little camera, the Insta360 Go 2. And I know you don't need to watch another review about this thing. If you're going to buy it. If you're not, don't. But I just wanted to go over my thoughts, put my opinion out there, let you know the downsides that I've found from practical use, because I think the use case that I put this through is kind of one of the use cases that a lot of people will see from something like this, where you just want that little pack-away camera that you can take with you. You can capture some memories, you can use it probably when you don't really want to use your phone. You can use it to be a little bit more discreet, but a little bit action cammy as well. So you want to capture like more of the overall journey, the more of the overall trip, whatever it is, something where tiny camera will come in handy, and something that isn't your phone will be the right call for that. The upsides, it's tiny, it's really handy. The case and the way that you can use it like this and then out of the case, it's so versatile. The only thing I brought with me was the case, the actual camera obviously, and the little pendant mount that like magnets itself to your chest. It's got other mounts. There's been times where I've been like, it would have been great to have brought that one. But for the most part, this is all I've needed. The video quality out of this, I think, looks phenomenal. I mean, it's not the best if you compare it to all the top end cameras out there, but it is really, really good compared to like the older GoPros that I used to have and things like that. Stabilization is, it's just incredible. The pictures look great. I didn't realize it shot RAW, which is a nice addition, because you can then bring that in to editing software and you can do some nice things with it. It's going to be cool. It's going to work out. Let's talk about the cons. That internal memory is a fuck up. 32 gig is not enough, even for something like this. You can shoot in different modes, but the pro mode is the one that you're going to want to use. That's the one I'm using now. It means you can like reframe, you can do stuff to it. You've got more data to work with. You've got more options, but it uses up a lot of space on the memory. And something that I've never found a problem until now is the amount of memory on my phone. 64 gig, I had 64 gig for years. 64 gig has been more than enough for everything I've needed until this guy. So I need to find a way around that. The other thing that it really didn't work well for, and where a phone, like especially like one of the newest iPhones with the sort of telephoto and the wide angle, one of the times that would have been so much better was in the church. We went to this christening and this just wasn't the right tool for the job. It just wasn't right. And so I thought I was maybe going to capture some decent stuff in there. I did not. But it has been fantastic for just recording this trip, for recording like the excitement of finally getting on a plane. It's been great for just like throwing on the little chest mount and getting some like point of view stuff that you just wouldn't get with something else. I've been really happy with it so far. The other really exciting possibility with this camera is the ability to reframe. So I make videos on YouTube, obviously, and they are landscape predominantly. Yes, you can do them in other ways, but I don't want to do them in other ways. But I really enjoy TikTok at the moment. Yes, I'm probably too old for it. Yes, do you know what? No, I'm not. Stop judging people on age. Stop judging people's interests and things that they enjoy. I like TikTok. It's cool. So, being able to not just reframe and like crop in, but to actually change the frame so that it fits with TikTok or YouTube is really, really useful. If I can make content that looks better on both than it did before, or at least better on the one that isn't my main focus, then that's happy days. So if you're someone who wants to make videos where you walk around and you talk to a camera, this is a really good option, especially if you're not a sociopath. It's very easy to just kind of put this down to your side and hold it and forget about it till you're in a place where you can talk freely. It is really weird to be talking to a camera held out at arm's length when you're walking around in public. I don't think there's anyone at all who's like vaguely normal who finds this really enjoyable on a there's a runner now. See, this is the problem. This is the problem I've got. I find it really tough to carry on doing this when there's other people about. But I feel like with this tiny little camera, it's so much easier. It feels less intrusive, less weird. It's not a big like Joby Gorilla Pod with a big camera, with a big lens on it, with a big furry microphone on top. It's just tiny. And I think that one of the problems I've always had with that setup is you've got to like take it out of your bag, build it up, and then be ready to film. And what I mean by that is like you can't just be like out and about and you find a brief moment of tranquility where you're like, do you know what, it'd be great to, this would be like the perfect time, the sun's in the right place, there's not really anyone about, I can film now. And so you start building it up, putting it together, and then a school group of kids comes about and you're like, okay, so putting this away then. I think that's where this comes in. This comes in so handy when you can just like pull it out really quickly and start filming. You're also not going to get shots this smooth, this, I just say nice, that's not really, doesn't do it justice. You're not going to get shots that aren't going to make the viewer sick unless you're using a gimbal. If you're walking around, even with the inbuilt stabilization that a lot of modern, very high-end cameras have, you're still going to get a much better jiggle-free, less seasickness-inducing video with something like this than you are with a phone or one of those top-end mirrorless cameras. And it's because this is built around stabilization. It's built with stabilization in mind. And you don't need a gimbal when this will do. The other major downside to this tiny, tiny little camera is that the audio is not incredible. And you might be thinking, well, sounds alright to me. And that's hopefully because I've done my job right and I've been using a lav mic. A little bit further away than it should be. I've been using this Tascam recorder, and this is great because it records to an SD card and you don't have to do anything with it and the camera until you get into post, and you can then sync it together. And that's super useful because I don't know if there's a good way to put audio directly into this camera, and even if there was, then you'd end up having to put a mic somewhere. Where do you put that on this little thing? And so this is an extra step. It's not a big deal because the Tascam recorder is the same size as this camera once it's in its case. The Tascam recorder sounds incredible. It's not a difficult piece of equipment to have with you. It's not a difficult extra piece to add on to this filming setup when you consider what else you would be using if you had your mirrorless camera with you or whatever else it would be. And yes, the Tascam recorder, bringing it along is a faff. And getting it out and, finding somewhere to put the lav mic and then somewhere to put the recorder it can be a little bit of setup, but then I don't know, there's always going to be some amount of setting up. There's always going to be something that you've got to do if you want to do some vlogging, some storytelling, But then again, this is what the audio sounds like straight from the camera. Does it sound awful? No. Does it sound great? Not really. But it's there. If you just want to document some stories so that you can put together a little video and send it home for the family, it's going to be more than acceptable. I think that is everything I want to cover. I think that's where I'm going to end here, because otherwise I'm going to keep walking and I'm already in the woods, literally in the woods. Actually, just one more pro to recording onto something like the Tascam is that you can do something like this. You can get away from the camera and you can still be heard. You can be over here and you can be pensively looking out onto a beautiful river scene, but you can still be heard. Seen two seagulls fighting over a pigeon's wings. So there you go.